On paper, the GoPro Mission 1 completely wipes out the DJI Action 6, but here's the thing you don't really see when looking at just the spec sheet alone. In this video, we're going to analyze what it's like to actually use both these devices. We're going to look at a bunch of side-by-side comparisons as well. This video is not going to be heavily focused on specs because we've had all this information already for close to a month now. Today in this video, I'm going to show you the flaws that I've experienced with both these cameras, close focus comparisons, field of view, side-by-sides, different bitrate comparisons so you have a bit better of an idea what to select and when. If you're tired of watching people review these cameras by just reading off the spec sheet alone, this is the video for you. Now, I've had the Mission Pro that I've paid for with my own money for just a few days now, but I've reviewed this Action 6 likely more than anyone else on YouTube. With that being said, this isn't my definitive review yet. But these are my findings so far, so let's get into it. Starting things out with likely one of the most important things when looking at an action camera is how well it handles auto exposure, because realistically, this is how you're going to be using these cameras most often. Starting off with my first test, I have the GoPro in GP Log 2 and the DJI Action 6 in D-Log M. Going into the forest now, you can see that the DJI Action 6 handles exposure changes quite decently in this series of clips. While I find that it does boost the midtones quite excessively, a little bit too much, it still keeps the scene nice and brightly lit. Moving over to the GoPro, I gotta say, I'm not too impressed with how this camera handles going from dim to brightly lit scenes. Sometimes it just gets so dark to the point where you're rarely gonna be able to recover any of that footage. And this is with a LUT that's applying 1.8 stops EV over and above the 0 because it is underexposing straight out of the camera. That's common for the GP Log 2 to be underexposed by 1.8 stops. But I've applied the correction LUT on top of this, so it shouldn't be a problem like it is. I'll get into that LUT a little bit later on in the video. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows when it comes to the DJI and the auto exposure. Basically, every DJI product that I've tested over the last few years always faces the same issue with shadows flickering quite a bit. Even the Pocket 4 suffers from this, and this is something that I detailed in my Pocket 4 review. With the overall performance of these two auto exposure algorithms being pretty great, it's just a simple firmware fix that could likely fix this for both cameras. But when it does screw up, it really makes me feel like a bit of a fool for trusting their auto algorithms. Now let's talk color. GoPro has always been the more muted when it comes to overall saturation and more lifelike colors, and that really holds up here with this release. Looking at the DJI Action 6, even when you're using that D-Log M LUT, looking at the mountains, they look quite artificial. There's always a bit of a blue-ish color instead of green. Now looking at the GoPro, you can see GoPro nails the look of the mountains. The trees actually look green. Now, if you're shooting D-Log M, you can absolutely just lower the saturation on the cyans and blues, and you can get a very similar look, but with very minimal effort, GoPro wins in this aspect. A lot of reviewers, when talking about this Mission 1, really sort of downplayed the overall size of this camera. Compared to the Action 6 at around 150 grams compared to, I think, like the 208 on the Mission 1, this is a much bulkier camera, and it's not nothing, especially if you're attaching it to something like a helmet that is already heavy on your head with the chin mount sort of setup. Looking at these two side by side, you can see there definitely is a difference when it comes to overall size, with the Action 6 just being the much smaller camera. But because it is not necessarily pocketable anymore, I would really recommend something like a sling like we have here today. And this sling is K&F's 12-liter sling. And I've actually been using a K&F bag since 2023. I bought this actually with my own money several years ago. I've brought this into countless different countries, never had a single zipper fail on this bag. And it's just worked awesome, even when loading several lenses in, my heavy mirrorless camera, my 16-inch MacBook Pro. A lot of times when buying bags like this, you will end up spending quite a bit of money, but it's really surprising that they're able to sell that backpack for $89.99 and this sling bag for $49.99. I'm sure very few of you are camera comparison freaks like I am, so they do have 4-liter bags as well to pick up, and I think that would be perfect for this Mission 1. I have affiliate links down in the description. Buying through that greatly helps fund the purchases like these cameras that are non-sponsored. Thanks K&F Concept for sending me this bag. Let's now go back to the comparison. Looking at flare performance between both cameras, you got to give it to the GoPro. In bright, sunny conditions, the GoPro just looks far better, and the flares look far more controlled. I don't know how much of it has to do with this lens hood. I think it's primarily the lens that they're using. It just has much better control when it comes to flares. With all that said though, DJI Action 6 absolutely wins on character, especially at f4 if you love Starburst Sunstars. With it having aperture blades allowing you to get those, GoPro only has a fixed f2.8 lens, so no Sunstars for you. I think one of the biggest compromises when comparing these two cameras, the Mission 1 Pro has not the best minimum focus distance. With the Mission 1 Pro close focusing from 60 centimeters to infinity compared to the DJI Action 6 at 20 centimeters at f4, it's a pretty significant difference. Looking now at these shots here, you can sort of see how this may sort of cause some issues in your workflow. Because of this, I think it's actually pretty difficult to use this camera handheld without something like a little selfie stick. And this is also another reason why I think it is good to have a sling with this camera, because you are going to need to carry around a few other things besides just the camera alone. With the macro lens mod not being out yet for the GoPro, it's only a matter of time, I imagine, till it does get released. But I imagine this is going to be a must-have accessory for a lot of people out there. This is just another point to the Action 6 when it comes to overall versatility and small form factor. Field of view makes a massive difference when comparing action cameras, because a lot of times you're wanting POV type shots. We're going to look now at some footage shot between super wide on the GoPro, and this is actually an improvement over the hyper view on the previous 13. When using SuperView, it is really wide, but it also has quite a bit of distortion compared to the ultra wide on the DJI Action 6. If you're looking for clean, minimal distortion, I think the Action 6 is probably a better option for you. But if you're aiming for that GoPro look, as people have called it for so long now, obviously the GoPro is going to be the camera for you. Looking at both cameras, both offer linear settings, and this is something I really like to shoot in. I like having nice and straight verticals. I'm not a huge fan of the GoPro look. At 35 years old, maybe I don't do as much action as I used to, so that's particularly why the GoPro look is not really appealing to me. And let's talk about one of the most important things that may be affecting your video quality that likely isn't enabled by default. And this is bitrate and bit depth. Going into bitrate, the DJI Action 6 only has 10-bit color profiles, whereas the GoPro, you actually have to select this. And where this will be mostly useful is if you're wanting to edit your files later on. If you have no intention of editing your files afterwards, you could likely just get away with that 8-bit color profile. The thing that really makes a difference with both these cameras though is the bit depth. A lot of these cameras start out at standard and you have to raise it to a higher setting in order to get the maximum amount of quality out of both these devices. Let's look at some examples now of the DJI Action 6 at the 120 megabit depth compared to the Mission 1 at 240 megabits in the max setting. When selecting the fastest bit depth setting, especially in fast moving scenes, you'll see a real jump in detail. Look towards the skies, foliage, and high contrast scenes. Now in this shot, I'm keeping the DJI Action 6 with the same bit depth, and then the GoPro at that high bit depth. I'm curious, looking at that max shot from earlier, comparing it with this high setting, do you see a difference in quality? Now in this next shot, I set the DJI Action 6 to that standard bit depth from high, and then on the GoPro, I set it to the lowest bit depth as well. I'm curious, even with YouTube compression, can you see the difference between those clips? In the Mission 1, they've released 4 different ready-to-go straight out of camera looks within the camera, while the Action 6 has 7 different looks. Let's compare some JPEGs and see which you prefer, possibly out of both of these systems. Now, because I don't like a heavy baked-in look, I prefer only 50% on the Action 6, but it's nice to give you the ability to go between 30 to 100% compared to the GoPro that only allows you to use the LUT at 100. Looking closer at GP log 2, this is flatter than anything that GoPro has done before. And having a much flatter log compared to the D-Log M allows quite a bit more control in post-processing, considering you already have quite a bit of saturation contrast already in that D-Log M profile. Now the GP log 2 has brought on quite a bit of confusion because it is underexposing the image quite a bit, but I actually do have some correction LUTs you can actually just throw on top of your clip. So you can shoot at 0 EV, but the exposure will be consistent with what you had shot. One of my favorite workflow features on the Mission 1 that not enough people are talking about is the ability to carry over your settings, applying it to several different video or photo modes. You can change one setting, your bitrate, your white balance, your EV. You can just say apply to all and it will apply to every single mode. I can guarantee you if you shot this camera for any amount of time, you've likely shot on normal mode instead of D-Log M, or by accident changing a mode you had entirely different white balance. With GoPro, it keeps things nice and consistent, and that is a huge workflow win for the GoPro camera. One thing commonly found in mirrorless cameras is having your general settings overlaid on your main screen. While yes, it makes it a bit busier in appearance, knowing exactly what your ISO, shutter speed, EV, white balance is on your main screen is huge for keeping things consistent. There were many times when shooting at nighttime where my shutter speed dropped quite low on the Action 6, causing the footage to be entirely unusable, and having that on the screen would have likely saved those clips because I would have known what I had done at the time I was doing it. And with this, you can really see how GoPro is tweaking their motion settings when you can view the shutter speed right as it's happening. While beginners likely won't care at all about having something like this, for advanced users, this is a huge step forward. Looking at horizon lock, you're very limited to where you can use horizon lock on the Action 6. With the GoPro Mission 1 working in almost all resolutions and different aspect ratios, you can shoot at 8K, 4:3, 16:9, but you should know that it does not work in 9:16 vertical. Now, while horizon lock sort of breaks the immersion when shooting action sports, I think for vloggers, this is a go-to setting and really a major benefit for the GoPro. One thing I've complained about since the release of the Action 6 is the limited ISO settings, and they've actually improved this on the Pocket 4, allowing much smaller jumps in ISO, but as it stands, you're only able to shoot 100 to 800 ISO on the Action 6. And a lot of times, even in bright sunlight, is shooting in that mid-range, far higher than it should be, with likely 100 being ideal. With the Mission 1, you just have far more options: 25 to 100, 25 to 200, all the way up to 25 to 6400. Because of GoPro's low ISO floor when shooting in auto ISO, you're likely going to get far sharper images with much less noise when shooting daytime footage. Now let's talk briefly about photos, as I'm going to do a full-length video on that shortly. Now, comparing the 50 megapixel photos in 4:3 on the Mission 1 compared to the 38 4:3 photos on the Action 6, the Mission 1 has quite a bit less buffer time compared to the Action 6. And this is also something that we saw on the Ace Pro 2. Because the processor is a bit older on both these devices, it doesn't buffer as quick. Now, it's not going to be instant, but it is quite a bit faster on the Mission 1. Now, everyone's grandma and mom have watched footage from the Mission 1 slow motion. Now, it's no surprise Mission 1 wins with the overall slow motion in that 960 frames compared to the Action 6, having nothing even remotely close to it. But not many people have done comparisons of the 4K 120, and this is for people that are broke like myself and only have that base model. But let's compare the similar 4K 120 between both these devices. Both allow you to shoot in log formats, which is pretty great. Do you think that one is better than the other when comparing these 4K 120 modes? Looking at the built-in microphones from both cameras, the Mission 1 has 32-bit float audio. I've selected that now, and let's now listen to how both these sound with no post-processing or wind noise reduction added. Currently, you're listening to me from the GoPro microphone straight out of camera with no processing. I have it set to standard with wind noise reduction set to off because there is no wind currently. Now this is what it sounds like me coming from the DJI Action 6 with no extra audio processing. The wind noise reduction is turned off. Now in the GoPro, I've selected the voice tuning setting. How does this sound? Is it isolating my voice a little bit more? Now I'm coming from the DJI Action 6. Once again, no wind noise reduction turned on, and you only have just the one profile when it comes to built-in audio on this, if you're not tampering with the wind noise reduction. Coming to you now from the GoPro, I have wind noise reduction turned on now, still in that same voice priority mode. How does this sound? I'm gonna do a little bit walking back and forth. And then on the DJI Action 6, the microphone that you're listening to me right now, I am in the standard noise cancellation. It should be perfectly fine for this sort of environment. There's not too much wind, as you can see around me. Trees aren't moving all that much. Wind noise reduction is set to strong on the DJI Action 6, and then it's just set to the regular standard on the GoPro because they don't have a strong setting. Let's see. How does this sound? Can you hear me at all as I'm biking here? It's super windy at this spot, so I think it's probably unlikely that you'll be able to hear me, but let me know. If you want the best sounding audio, definitely you're going to need to use a different microphone. GoPro's microphone isn't released yet. The DJI mics work with this, but the Bluetooth quality is not going to be nearly as good as you'll get out of any sort of Osmo camera. There is a bit of a hack though, where you can actually use the receiver, if you have one, by pulling off this door. You can actually attach your receiver. This is the DJI Mic 2, and it does fit here, but from what I've seen online, you can actually use most of the DJI receivers alongside this. And you'll get far better audio if you use this trick. Now, one thing you can also do if you do have that GoPro cage or any sort of cage for this Mission 1 is you can actually attach this receiver to the hot shoe and then just use a USB-C cable on the side here. Looking at another way you can mount this, you can actually attach it to the GoPro cage and just taking off this side door. Although I don't really like the way that GoPro exposes the battery, also the SD card and USB slot at the same time. If we were to compare this to the DJI Action 6, just having that single USB port just keeps things, in my opinion, quite a bit more secure, and you're not going to worry as much as if you were to have everything else exposed like on the Mission 1. Now, neither of these cameras are perfect. They both have different trade-offs, the GoPro being heavier and having different close focus limitations. While not the hugest deal, it is something. The Action 6 still is a really great camera, and I don't think you should feel bad if you own this camera. I think this still, for most people, is more than good enough. I think for people that already own mirrorless cameras, the Mission 1 is just much closer to using a mirrorless camera, having different overlays and different settings. It's much more feature rich, but as I said before, this might not appeal to you as a beginner. You may like the very limited basic options like on this DJI camera. I think if you're an experienced user like myself, the Mission 1, you'll likely be able to understand how this works within a day or two, whereas the DJI Action 6 is pretty well ready to go straight out of the box, and you don't need to have much knowledge about cameras. Because I'm sure someone is going to ask this, in this video I used medium sharpness and low denoise on the Mission 1 because a lot of people online were saying that it was too soft. And on the DJI Action 6 I used -2 texture and -2 denoise. Looking at both these cameras compared, which surprised you the most? If you have any tests you want to see, drop it in the comments. As I said before, I'm likely going to be making a photography comparison video over the next bit. So stay tuned, subscribe, and come back to check that out. Now, I never asked this on the channel, but I would really appreciate if any of you became a member. Affiliate sales and monthly pay from YouTube do not come anywhere close to the amount of money I'm spending on cameras for these comparisons. For the next while, I plan to do more member-only live streams where we can hang out, talk, discuss. I think it'd be really great to start more of a community here around this little movement we got going on. Well, yeah, and if you need a great bag at a great price, K&F Concept is here for you. Link down in the description. Thanks so much. Well, signing off, guys. Take care. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.